Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast, You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. All right. So, welcome to You Are Significant. I'm so glad you're here for this episode because Lisa Ray Bell is here with me on this episode. And I am so honored that she reached out to me to let me know she wanted to share her story. And we met up and talked for a while, and I could just see her genuine heart that she really wants you to hear her story so that you can see your significance and God's significance in her life and your life. And we talk all the time on this podcast about how God put seeds of greatness inside each one of us and he created us in his image. And there is not one single person that is not significant. You matter. And whether things are going smooth or challenging or even in a catastrophe, such as Helene that hit just a few weeks ago, really, that you are significant and God always sees you and he always holds you in his hand. So, Lisa, welcome to You Are Significant.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me. So, I'm very honored for you to share your story tonight.
Yes.
So, go ahead and tell us, just start from the beginning what was happening that day and how things went.
Okay. On September 27th is when it was like 9 a.m. that morning. And how God worked through all of it, I just still stand in awe. Because, like, the school had canceled, and one of my girls had went to spend a night with a friend, and then my stepdaughter had went home. And then my oldest daughter, me and her was like halfway up my road, and her phone happened to be dead. So her friend called my phone, and we were like almost home, and wanted her to come and spend the night. And I keep thinking about that. I was like, I know that's the Lord that I look back at it now. But she ended up going to spend the night with a friend. So I came on home, and my husband's a lieutenant at the fire department. So I was kind of home by myself all that evening, but he come home probably about 6 in the morning, and we had lost power. And the water started rising, but it wasn't that bad. We'd seen it get kind of flooded on Pensacola before, but nothing like that. But like 10 minutes later, I looked out and it was like I seen people's sheds going by me. I seen people's porches going by my window. And I was like, and I just looked at my husband, Howard, and he was on the radio with the fire department. I was like, what are we going to do? And he was like, pray.
Mhm.
So I sat down on the couch and he was standing up because he was still on the radio. And we both were just praying, like, please, Lord.
Mhm.
And then you could hear like logs going up underneath because we lived in a mobile home
Mhm.
up underneath it. And I was like, I was so scared. I was like, this is it, because I could see everything going by me, cars, porches. And as I sit down back on the couch and we just started praying, the frame, we started floating while in our house. And I passed the mailbox and we were still praying. And like, I guess it jerked the frame off because I had a fireplace and it was folding, like coming at me. And when it come at me, it was just, I know it was God. I mean, it opened up enough and it sucked me and my husband out. I don't,
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain it. It just like,
Wow.
I mean, it ripped apart in three places, but that part, it just like opened up and there we went.
Wow.
Probably 400 yards on the couch. I was still sitting on the couch, and he grabbed a hold of the arm of the couch, and he was in the water,
Mm,
and we floated. I couldn't tell you if that water was hot or cold when I think about it, you
mhm,
know. And we looked over, and our neighbor's house, it's kind of high up, and the water was going in front of it and behind it. And I could still see the barbed wire fence. So he told me to jump, and I jumped. I wrapped my hand around it. Of course, it's okay. I mean, I can't bend my finger because I wrapped it so much it tore it open.
mm,
And I was able to pull myself up right there, and he held on to my ankle. And I got him out, and we sat there on the porch for a minute. It's like, what are we going to do? You know, like
mhm,
it was kind of a shock. And it's like he tells me, I was like, something told me to walk to that garage because, of course, no one was home at that house. And I was starting to freeze by that time. I was shivering. And he got the garage door open, and there was 2 chairs, and there was 2 blankets.
mm.
That's it. That's all that was in that garage. That's it.
Wow.
That's all was in there. Yeah. I'm like, when I look back and think, Lord, you know, you took care of us.
Yes, God provided. Mhm,
Yeah. So we sat there, and I don't know, probably 4 hours, and a track co come down the road, and they thought we were missing because, like I said, he was the fire department. And the last words he told his buddies was like, "We're probably dead."
mm,
That's the last thing they heard from us. So, of course, they thought we were missing and nobody could get to us. But
mhm,
that track hoe come, and we were able to get out and go to a neighbor's house and spend the night. And then all I could think about was my kids, you know, all our kids. Are they okay? Are they okay? And it was about 9 o'clock that morning. We walked on. We walked to the fire department across the river, and they could take us a little ways to get to an ambulance, but then we had to walk out of Pensacola to get to an ambulance.
mm.
And then from there, we went to Asheville Hospital. No phones, no IDs. Everything was gone. Like, and
Wow.
they, and God was still in it and all of it. Like, they tried to put us in a homeless shelter because we was like, well, we don't have nothing.
Mhm,
But they gave us tetanus shots. And of course, they couldn't sew up my hand because it'd been over 24 hours.
mm,
So I had to it kind of healed on its own.
mhm.
But we
Praise
happened
the
to have
Lord, it
got,
healed, and that didn't
yes,
turn
I
into
mean,
something a lot worse.
yes.
How
But I
far
was
did
gonna
y'all have to
walk.
walk when you were walking?
Oh gosh, probably 10 miles out of there.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
had no shoes. Like, and
And
the
it was
neighbor, our neighbor, like on down, she come out and gave me a pair of boots. Like, she was like, here. So I'd walked all that.
oh my
I was
goodness.
like,
It's a wonder
yeah,
you didn't have your foot cut open too.
I know, because I didn't know what was underneath it. And there was parts of the river. I mean, it was so bad up there. Like the
Mm,
road was gone. We had to walk through fields. It
wow.
was it was so bad. But when we got to the hospital and after all that, I told Harris, like, I'm walking, I'm getting to my kids. You know, that's the only thing I could think of is my kid.
Mhm, mhm.
And we happened to walk around the corner, and there was like our town's EMS. So I was like, I know that Lord sent them right there on time.
'Cause they
Cause
would
we're like
know
at,
you
yeah, they were
without your
like, we're like at,
IDs. They knew who you were to verify.
yeah, yeah, they gave us a ride back to rescue. And we ended up staying there. And then a lady that I go to church with, and one of my friends, she had my kids and brought them to rescue.
Oh, now how old
Yes,
are
so
your
it was like,
kids?
Olivia's 17 and Eden's 13.
Oh, where I know they must have been so worried about you. What did they
Yeah.
say when they saw
Yeah,
you?
they had tried to get up Pensacola, but it was like there was no road.
Mhm.
So Eden, my youngest one, she was like, I was about to walk. And I
Oh,
was like,
bless.
yeah. I think we
Oh,
hugged and cried for like 2 hours.
yes, in total shock, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then on the other side of town, you know, I lost my best friend during it. But I mean,
I
how
saw
God
your
worked in that.
yeah.
We had met when we were 19, and, you know, life gets in the way, kids gets in the way, and we hadn't really connected till the last, like, 7 months before she passed away. We got really close again,
Mm,
and sometimes I find myself, because 'cause I'm human, I'm like, "You know, why? Why her?"
mm,
And then God reminds me, like, "I gave you these 7 months back." And
mm.
I'm like, "You did."
Yeah.
Because we reconnected at one of our friends that gave her testimony at my church,
Mhm.
and she had came.
Oh,
Yeah, and he reminds me of that, and it's just hard sometimes because I miss her, but and then my
and
girls, they lost.
you lost her to the storm?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
tried to leave her house.
Mhm, and she didn't make it.
Mm-mm. Oh, a log come down as she was crossing the river.
Mm, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that that's not the only loss because have you always lived in Pensacola and you knew
pretty
a
much
lot
my
of
one.
people?
Yeah,
So, what were the statistics of, you know, for your town?
I think Pensacola was 6 up there
6?
where we lived.
Mhm.
Um, My E my daughter Eden, she lost one of her friends. He was 11, and
Oh.
his family lived on South Coast. There was 4 of them, and then my girls' dad, you know, they lost him. He lived in Green Mountain, like 10 miles from us,
Mm,
and their stepmom, she's still missing,
mm. Wow.
so I wanna say 14, 15, probably in Yancey County.
Mhm. Oh, wow. And those are the kind of things when there's tragedy, there's been so much outpouring, it seems, by looking at social media of people wanting to come and rebuild buildings and homes and
Yes,
donate items. Can you speak to that generosity, what
absolutely.
you've actually seen?
Yes, I have met some amazing people from not around here, like from New York Police Department. They came. We got to meet them, and they gave so many clothes to the girls. Like, it's unreal. Like, I know we lost everything, but it's like the Lord's like, I got you, because they got so many clothes now. I don't know what to do with them.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, you know, He's got us. He did.
Yeah.
He's so faithful. And Samaritan Purse is just been amazing. Like, they're amazing people.
Wow.
And our churches and, our church and another church got us this Airbnb for a year, so we're here for a year.
Oh, that's so good. So you can rebuild and focus on
Yeah,
healing and grieving and that's something that I want people to think about and you to speak to is so many times even when it's a funeral and we go to the visitation and we comfort the family, we bring food that week, but the process is ongoing. And I think it's so important not to forget people that have gone through what you've been through and that the help and the comfort and the encouragement is still needed. And even the financial things like your church providing an Airbnb for a whole year.
mm,
Wow.
yeah,
That's just so awesome. So there's probably still a need for help. And I think that that is important to know.
yeah. And there's been a lot of organizations that's come. Like, there've been a lot from Tennessee, and mo it's been mostly churches and, like, just organizations.
Hmm.
Like, just
Wow.
they've been
So what it's
amazing.
gonna take a while to rebuild. That's something you and I were talking about, like even your
Yeah.
property. Can you, explain a little bit more about what it's like to live in an area that's been devastated. What is the process like there?
Well, it's a lot, like, our land well, we can't rebuild back on our land now because supposedly it's a flood zone,
Mm.
but, we were so worried about that, and we kept praying and praying and praying, and last Thursday, we got to purchase land, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah,
Yay!
I know, I was like, "Please," and he answered that prayer too, it's like, he's got us. It's just
Yes.
so
Oh,
amazing.
that's such good news.
Yeah, it finally we signed the deed Thursday, and we're still in Pensacola. It's gonna be a long process. We got a lot of grading to do. There's a pond that's through it now. The driveway's gone.
Mhm.
Like, the pond just expanded itself, but
Yeah.
it'll be okay. I have faith that everything's gonna work out because it has so far, so it's gonna be hard, like, there's still debris everywhere up there. I mean, it's all on the side of the road.
Mhm.
I mean,
What
it's
about your
hard to do.
kids? Have they been able to go back to school or
Well, every time they do, it snows, like, we didn't have school today. They've probably been, probably a week full after the storm
Wow.
because it just snows and ices, and our roads are so bad as it
Mm,
is, so it's
mm.
kinda hit and miss.
That's just sort of the state of things normally anyway, and then with the storm on top of it, Helene, and then the snow and all that, it's
Yeah,
just mhm. Well, it probably makes you think about what they can learn at home and what they're learning from life. I'm a homeschooler mom. I homeschooled my kids for right around 20 years,
yeah,
between the 3 girls, and they're all entrepreneurs. They all own their own businesses.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yes, and, my biggest thing when I was raising them was math. Like, it's really hard to catch up on math, so make sure that you're learning math along the way, and then, of course, we did Bible every day, and I just treasured that. To me, I was like, I would rather have this time to talk with them from God's word about questions they have and things that are gonna come up in life and things that the devil is gonna try to make them believe that, just
Absolutely.
aren't true. Versus are they worrying about are they getting a biology lab or a physical science lab or a chemistry lab? Like, I had to cross that road when they were high school age, and so, I would just think that, I just wanna comfort you, Lisa, that as your kids are going through this and they haven't been able to be back to school, that I think what they're learning is more important lessons than what they would read out of a book, and there's
Yeah,
always time to learn. There's We don't have to stop learning when we're 18,
right. That's
you
true.
know? I think
Yeah,
we're always learning, so, I think sometimes the world tries to make us think, "Well, you gotta get it all in this amount of time, and if you didn't, you're a failure," and it's like,
right. It's
"Well,
so hard.
really?"
I know.
I might
Like,
learn some other things that are just as important or maybe more important that are part of the purpose on my life that God has on my life. And I
yeah,
just think it's a beautiful story that your children are living out, getting to see how God is working and he hasn't forgotten you and he is
no.
providing for you through this.
Yeah, it's been amazing what he's done. It's just I can't put it into words really.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I would think since it's just been since the end of September, um, like, that's just 3 months, really, 3.5 months ago.
yeah,
That's just, like, 90 days, and I think it do you feel like it takes like, as time is going by, maybe there's, like, a certain amount of shock that we don't always realize we're in, but as time goes by, um, I don't know, like, your perspective keeps changing on things.
yeah.
And how can you speak to how your perspective is changing as you sort of have time to process this?
Yeah, I'll say Christmas was hard.
Mhm.
Like, I wanted to go home, and I know it was hard for the girls because they spend Christmas down there too with
Mhm.
that side of the family, and I don't know, it's been day by day for me. Like, I have to get up and I have to pray, and
Mhm.
sometimes I have breakdowns when it starts raining and I have to pray. Like, it
Yeah.
got bad here a couple of weeks ago with the rain and the wind, and I was like, I got real nervous, and I usually don't. I'm like,
Mhm.
but this time I did. I was like, okay, what's this? So I had to get along with God,
Mhm.
and I feel better after that. It's like, because I get scared. I was like, do I need to leave? Do I need to go 50 miles west? Because I'm getting away from whatever's coming. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
it's a scary feeling, and I've never had that feeling before. And
Mhm.
I don't know what they call it, PTSD maybe? I don't know.
Yes, PTSD.
Like,
Mhm.
and
Are
that's
they
been hard.
are they offering y'all any counseling or, um
Yeah, we actually me and the girls go to a church counselor because I felt
mhm,
like that's the best ones 'cause I don't I just don't do a lot of the other
mm,
therapies out there.
mhm.
But this
Yeah,
one's been yeah, it's kinda I know. I'd rather stay with a Christian therapy, and she's so wonderful. She helps so much. So
that's
that helped. Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad you have that support so that as you do get triggered, that hopefully it gets a little bit easier each time with the
Yeah.
tools that you're learning and even just seeing, "Okay, I made it through that storm and I'm still okay and my house is still intact," and it's
Yeah.
so and
Or sometimes
especially
it's
for your
slow for
girls
me.
with their loss that they had, I would that's so good that there's therapy for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's helping a lot. I mean, considering everything, it's helped a
Yeah.
lot.
So, I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for the listeners that are here we're all hearing about Southern California and the fires
Yeah,
and
it's so bad.
everything
I
that's
wanna pack up
happening.
and go help them. I was
Yeah.
telling my husband, I was like, "I need to go." He was like, "You realize how far that is?" I was like, "Do you realize how many people come for us?" Like, well,
Yeah. I was wondering what advice that you have for, for the listeners to this podcast as they hear about what's going on down there. What should we think about?
Jesus,
Mm,
that's my answer. I
mhm.
I I feel like it won't be long.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like it won't be long till he calls his children home. And
Mhm.
now would be the time to draw close to him, or even if you're lost, to get saved.
Mhm. Amen. Yeah. I think that's really good
And it's worth
advice.
it. It's so worth it. It's gonna be worth it.
Mhm.
I couldn't have done any of this. I couldn't imagine doing this if I didn't have Jesus. I don't know what I'd do.
Yes.
Probably still sitting in that garage. I honestly, I don't know. I mean,
I'm sure
I
you
don't know. I
wondered.
might not even have made it without him.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine not having a life without the Lord, because he's
Mm.
my best friend. I mean, he's the only the one that I lean on.
Mhm.
I couldn't have done it without him. My advice, if you don't know him, you should, because it's so amazing.
Mm. Yes. Oh, I love that, Lisa, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you sharing that because I feel the same way. So, the
yeah.
things that I've been through, I couldn't have made it without God.
No,
And
I
I
couldn't
don't know
imagine.
how someone who is without God, who do you turn to? And if you're listening and you're like, "You know what? I need someone more powerful than me to turn to," then please turn to Jesus and
Absolutely.
do it right away. So, I also was thinking about as we're in a new year, And this month in You Are Significant, we are talking about things, people just letting go, the concept of letting go and forgiveness is a big part of that. And thinking about who do I need to forgive and what happened that I just need to let go and stop replaying that in my mind and just let it go. Stop letting it have power over me. A lot of us have trauma or just something negative that happened that we're like, we just wake up every morning and put it on mentally or emotionally. And it's time to let it go. So I just
Yeah.
wondered if you had any advice. What are you letting go of this year, or what would you advise the listener to let go of this year?
I would let anger go or mad because blended families are hard. They're
Mhm,
really hard.
mhm,
And the last thing that I said to Elena, I mean, we got in an argument over something stupid about who was going to get the girls. And now I don't have a chance to say I'm sorry because I loved her.
mhm,
And I mean, she loved me, she loved my kids, and they loved her.
mhm.
And now I don't have that chance.
Yeah,
So it's not worth carrying that. It's not worth it. I would just forgive and go on. And
yeah.
if you are in blended families, sometimes it is hard. It is hard,
Mhm,
because it's like, well, those are my kids, but this person's going to help raise them because
mhm,
we all made bad decisions when we were younger and we were lost, all
mhm,
of us. I
mhm.
mean, it's just the way that it is. But I would not hold no grudge.
Yeah.
That really bothers me.
Mm.
But I can
And
ask the
this
Lord forgive me about a stupid argument about. It's like I'm sorry. I wished I'd have never said that because me and her were close. We just had arguments. I
mm.
didn't want that to be the last thing I said to her.
Aw, so let go of anger
Like, let's let it
and
go.
forgive yourself too.
Go
I
take a walk over the gym.
There you go. And the second question is, what do you want to embrace more of this year?
I try to be a better mother and wife.
Mhm,
I'm gonna work on that.
mhm,
Getting closer to the Lord. I'd like to get more involved in church because I feel like I work all the time. I got
mhm.
one girl in basketball, but it's not. That stuff's not important.
Yeah. What's important? Looking at how we spend our time, I know we would say the Lord, but is there something even more specific that's becoming clearer after what you've been through that you really want to
Um,
spend time on?
yeah, all my family. Like I've got closer with my family through all this. That doesn't live around here. They live in Nashville. I
Mhm.
haven't talked to them hardly at all over the years, but now we do. We talk about every day since the storm, so
Oh,
that's good. So
yeah, that's good. Well, I so appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I know it's not easy to share with what you
yeah,
went through, but I can see your joy that you have in sharing the story because you can see how God saved you physically, and you want people to know it's so important for them to
absolutely.
be saved spiritually.
Yeah,
And that's I feel like I hear you saying that's why feel like you made it, is because you did have God and you did have Jesus, and they were right there with you.
yeah.
That
That's
moment when
all
you
I
opened
know.
the garage and there was 2 chairs and 2 blankets,
That's
like,
it. That's all that was in there.
wow,
I know. I was like, what?
God
And
provided.
right then, I was kind of like, okay, thank you, Lord, because I knew I just who knows when He put it in there. Could have been a year ago because that place has been empty for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, no one lives there. They actually have an Airbnb they rent it out.
Uh-huh.
So,
It just like some Airbnb guests might have left those chairs and blanket
and 2
like that.
blankets. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It just gives me chills.
I know, it's the best part. It's like
Mhm. Well, I definitely want to stay in touch and continue to follow you and your story.
yes, me
Thank,
too.
thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. And I just will continue to pray for you and the whole community that was affected by Helene.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your significance.